after Steph Curry went down with a sudden hamstring strain early in the second quarter, which Dr. P broke down last night, all seemed lost. The Warriors have been horrible offensively without Steph, even after the Jimmy Butler trade, as they struggle with shot creation and finishing around the rim. And despite their double-digit lead as Steph left the game, I don't think anyone expected a win. But then, Steve Kerr dug deep into his bag and found magic up and down the rotation, as the Warriors not only maintained that lead, but also relied on their elite defense to put the Timberwolves in a chokehold. As of Wednesday afternoon, we now also know that Steph has a grade 1 hamstring strain and likely won't be back until games 5 or 6. So can the Warriors survive, and can Steve Kerr continue to find strength in numbers? Let's review. For all of Anthony Edwards' talents, he's the least good at facilitating out of doubles, especially playmaking. And the Warriors wanted to make sure he gave up the ball as much as he could last night and was forced to playmake, as here, Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards are running a little action on the wing. Now, Buddy and Jimmy did a great job last night containing in pick and roll, as Jimmy is going to stay with him and force him baseline, and Draymond's presence in the paint further deters any type of shot attempt. Now, Ant makes a really good pass all the way to this corner, but again, it's a pretty awkward shot over Steph, and the Warriors are totally willing to live with that type of shot. Now here, we once again have another action between Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards, as Ant is going to go downhill, but watch as JK and Looney immediately are doubling Ant. Again, they're trying to get the ball out of his hands. They'd rather not have him getting inside at all and want him to do what he's worst at. Now he's able to get this pass to Julius Randle in the inside, but he loses his footing and ultimately turns the ball over. Julius Randle had a pretty poor night last night, continuously making poor decisions, losing the ball, taking inadvisable shots. And the Warriors loved that as long as Ant wasn't getting near the rim. Now, the Warriors also went zone last night. They had a few interesting zone looks that the Timberwolves could really never quite crack. Now, it looks like they're in some sort of 1-3-1 zone. I think for most of the night, they were actually playing a 2-3 zone. But in this case, look as this zone ends up allowing Draymond to get this excellent rotation onto Rudy and disrupt Rudy at the top of the shot. Draymond as your last line of defense in the zone was extremely effective for the Warriors last night, as it really disrupted the Wolves' rhythm. Now here, once again, we're in a 2-3 zone look, and what's going to happen is that this 2-3 zone forces J-Mac to make this really awkward drive and get a really awkward shot to finish the possession. The zone just made the T-Wolves look kind of awkward last night, as they really couldn't get in any sort of offensive rhythm, especially when they were missing all their threes. So Kerr continued with it into the second quarter, as here we're in a 2-3 zone. Now, it looks like the Warriors are playing some sort of tandem 2-3 zone, which means that you usually have one of your zone guys at the high post, and then you have the other man at the top of your zone on ball. In this situation, Quinton Post and Buddy Hield are going to be defending this Jaden McDaniels and Edwards ball screen, with Post in drop coverage. He does pretty well in drop here, as he ends up containing Anthony Edwards. Buddy Hield does a good job trailing Ant, and with the rest of the Warriors in zone, watch as Draymond, as your now last line of defense, as Ant has kind of gotten inside, and now, because of the presence of these three guys in your zone, is going to be forced to try and make some sort of pass out of it, either to Rudy or maybe spraying out to some sort of corner shooter. Of course, Draymond knows this, and he's instantly on the ball as Ant tries to make that pocket pass. Draymond did a really good job in the zone, and the Warriors did a really good job executing the zone. This was a possession at the start of the third where, again, we're in the tandem 2-3 zone. Now, just to reiterate, that usually means someone at the top of your zone standing in the high post, and then another man at the top of your zone playing on ball on the wings or just chasing up here, and then them switching off those duties as needed while the back line is playing this zone. Watch as even though Naz Reid is able to get the ball on the catch and actually break inside the zone, once again, it's Draymond Green as the final line of defense in your zone who ends up getting the stop on Naz Reid. Speaking of Draymond Green, his presence at the last line of defense in and out of zones was crucial, as here he's going to make this rotation all the way from the weak side to disrupt Anthony Edwards, who's managed to get a step inside. When you're playing against athletic scorers like Ant, you want to make sure that even if you get blown by on the perimeter, you have help. And that's exactly what Draymond is, as here we have this action being run high. Ant is going to be able to get downhill, but even though he gets downhill, who is it but Draymond Green who's able to make this rotation to save Jimmy Butler and prevent the easy attempt at the rim. Really important that Draymond as well isn't being involved in those ball screens, so he can just sit back and play as the help defender. But Draymond was also great last night defending in space, as here, rookie Terrence Shannon makes the terrible mistake of trying to drive on Draymond Green, who obviously deters him from any type of shot. So then he's going to make this kick out to Donte DiVincenzo, and of course, Pat Spencer, hard closeout, which means Dante's just going to drive that. But now, guess who's in help? It's Draymond Green, and he's just parked right here in the paint like a looming iron wall, and ultimately makes it really hard for Donte to put up that little floater at the end of the possession. Now, in this possession, watch where Draymond stands virtually the entire time, and also watch how good Jimmy does, as he first contains Julius Randle and forces this kick-out pass to Conley. Now, Conley drives Buddy's closeouts, but again, who is it? It's Draymond, who's just parked in the paint. And then Jimmy's able to make this really nice rotation onto Mike Conley, which forces yet another pass to the perimeter as he has to exit to Julius Randle. And now, as Julius Randle gets a drive on this closeout, it's again Draymond Green, who's waiting right here to deter any type of easy shot, and ultimately the Timberwolves get nothing on 3 attempts at the rim. The reason that Draymond Green is such a vaunted defender in the NBA is because he can do anything you ask. If you need him to serve as the help and then save your possessions whenever they get an inside step in the perimeter, he can do that. If you need him to defend in space, he can do that. If you need him to defend in ball screens, he can do that. And if you need him to battle 7-footers like Rudy Gobert or Alperen Şengün, he can do that. And that was really unsettling for the Timberwolves last night, as they could never find a rhythm through the entire game. Now let's move on to the rest of the team, because they also did a great job defensively. So Ant's able to get a step inside Buddy, but once again, it's Jimmy Butler who's now the last line of defense, and he's able to make a really good contest at the top. Jimmy has obviously been one of the key game changers in the Warriors defense since the trade. Now in this possession to end the first half, I want you to watch how Draymond and Jimmy work together as the backline. So Jaden McDaniels, Donte DiVincenzo running this high ball screen. He ends up getting a good step on Kuminga inside. But first, pay attention to the fact that Donte cannot finish here because of Draymond Green's presence. So then naturally, what are his options? Well, he can try and make this pocket pass to Jaden McDaniels, but with Kuminga and Buddy both running this way, it's pretty hard for him. So naturally, Jimmy has to watch for this back cut from Julius Randle. Pausing it right here, it might seem like Jimmy's not aware of what's happening, but he is. He knows this pass is coming, and he's just going to sniff it out instantly and get the Warriors going and save them from a last-second shot. Now, Looney also did a really good job last night, as later into the fourth, Draymond Green was out because of foul trouble, So it was up to Looney to defend, in this case, this ball screen action between McDaniels and Gobert, as McDaniels gets the inside step, and now it's just Looney versus McDaniels. He gets his hand up, doesn't foul, prevents the easy shot. In this situation, it's again Looney. There's no Draymond. They need to save him for the last few minutes of the game. So it's just Looney defending Gobert as he gets a hand at the very top on this little Gobert floater and then ends up getting the rebound. Those rebounds were crucial last night late in the fourth, as it really helped the Warriors establish their own rhythm and ultimately run time off the clock with a slower half-court offense. Now, Pat Spencer also had a really energetic night last night. He honestly reminds me of Dante or Jose Alvarado in their extreme effort and grit on both ends. Something he's been really good at is getting these picks in transition. Watch his hands on Dante as he just whacks that ball out, and then the Warriors end up getting that and a timeout. And let's watch him do it yet again here. This time he's doing it on a loose dribble from Naz Reid as he tries to turn around, and then it's just Pat Spencer with the singular swipe down, and then the Warriors are off in transition. Those two transition picks in a game that was as low scoring as this one were crucial. And it's nice to see that there is energy off the bench that Steve Kerr can look to in these games. And finally, let's just watch Pods be super annoying on Rudy Gobert as they're in this alignment here. Watch him just tussle with Rudy and ultimately get Rudy to foul him. Maybe he flops, but nonetheless, it's that extra energy and grit that the Warriors provided defensively that helped them keep the Timberwolves from ever feeling comfortable. The Warriors' defense put the Timberwolves in an incredible chokehold throughout the entire game, with a combination of odd zone looks thrown in by Kerr, great pick-and-roll defense from Buddy and Jimmy, pesky man-on-man defense, and yet another iron wall performance from Draymond Green. The Wolves simply couldn't find their rhythm. If there is a single thing that Steph Curry's absence doesn't change, it's the undeniable strength in numbers of the Warriors' defense. But with Steph gone, likely until Game 5 at the very least, will the Warriors be able to find anything in their half-court offense? Because if not, I'm not sure this defense can save them. Thanks for watching. Let us know if you agree.